You're listening to the Banking on Digital Growth podcast.
Welcome to the Banking on Digital Growth podcast. I'm Audrey Kanata, Operations Lead here at the Digital Growth Institute. And today we are going to continue celebrating the launch of James Roberts' latest book, Banking on Change, and focus our conversation on the importance of establishing and cultivating digital relationships over time. So let's welcome founder and CEO of the Digital Growth Institute, James Robert Lay.
Hi, Audrey.
How's it going, James Robert?
It
Congratulations
is
on a successful launch week.
Thank you. I was going to say it has been a whirlwind of a week. It has been because time, my goodness, like to think how far things have come in a relatively short period of time, but how long it took to get to the launch of this book, as we've talked on a previous podcast. I'm just sitting here feeling an extreme amount of gratitude for all of the good people that helped to launch this book. And it was because of these people. That's the reason that this book became a #1 Amazon bestseller. Not because of me. It was because of everyone else who helped get this book launched to begin with in the first place.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we get started, I know there's a lot going well for you, but anything in particular you want to highlight?
Well, I would say two things. Obviously the book, but on the personal side, on the home front, seeing my two oldest kids, Ludwig, he had his talent show and he plays the cello, and he played Hans Zimmer, the Gladiator, the theme song to the Gladiator. And him and I, it was amazing. Him and I, we worked together. We cut scenes from the movie, so it was a true multimedia experience. And he was on stage, but the projectors on the screens on the side were showing clips from the movie. And for a group of 7th and 8th graders, you could hear a pin drop. It was quiet. It was really, he was telling a story through music that was resonating with the soul. And then the film just added to that. And then Lucia just had her first dance recital. She's never danced before, but she made the dance team for her middle school. And I was not able to attend because we had Monday Mile Meet, so a running club with my other kids. But to see the video and to see her hard work, her dedication, and she has been just going through the routine. I think my youngest son, Louvian, he said, so that means we don't have to hear the song anymore again, right, Dad? And I was
I can empathize with him on that. I've got a little dancer in my household, and there are certain songs that I just can't listen to anymore.
Yep. And so I was like, nope, I think we're done with that one, but get ready because there's going to be another one coming for sure. But no, to see her really not have any dance experience and to make the team, but then to really just shine in the recital, wow, that was impressive. And I told her when she got home and saw the video, I said, that's a result of your commitment. That's a result of your hard work coming through.
Yeah, 100%. And I look forward to seeing both of those videos next time we're in person in real life.
Absolutely.
So Banking on Change, James Robert, congratulations. Amazon bestseller in not one, but 4 different categories. Incredible accomplishment, milestone for sure. What were those 4 categories? Do you have them offhand?
Off the top of my head,
business growth,
organizational change, and business strategy, I believe, were the 4.
Put you on the spot on that one.
Did.
Sorry.
You did. And once again, I just, a huge thank you to everyone that I had reached out to, that I asked, would you mind helping to launch this book? And they said yes. And it was just incredible, like the response. But a lot of that is something that to get that type of response, I mean, we're talking in some cases years, if not over a decade worth of relationship that has been developed. And I think these same principles can be applied even at a local level for community financial brand leaders in a digital world.
Yeah, and you use the word incredible, and that's what I would use to describe too. It was so incredible to see how well received this book was. Not just on launch day, but prior to. You have been sharing the introduction, a few sneak peeks, lots of really great reception. And I think this one, it really connected with people on a completely different level compared to banking on digital growth. And I know one person in particular reached out to you recently and said that, the first, you know, immediately they saw value in it, not from at a, not from a professional level, sorry, but on a personal note. They said that some of the insights and knowledge they gained has actually affected their home life. Their relationships, and that alone I think is such a beautiful testament to the power of this book and how it really transcends verticals. It's more than professional growth.
Yes, and it, it would be interesting to see how this book continues to unfold over time to make a positive impact, of course, within financial brands, but even more so going beyond financial brands, not just necessarily outside the vertical, but as a tool, as a resource for financial brands to utilize within their local communities. Because if you think
Yeah.
about like why I wrote this book to begin with in the first place, it's because we are going through a period of exponential change. And that change is making people feel very uncomfortable. Feels a little scary, feels a little overwhelming. I always say that the only person on planet Earth that prefers change is a baby with a dirty diaper. Um,
Yeah.
and so this book has resources that financial brands could use to guide people within their local communities, entrepreneurs within their local communities through change.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about that. What are some lessons thinking about how you said some of these relationships going back almost a decade. Um, those relationships that you had built over time really, really are what helped get this book off the ground. Those early adopters. How can someone apply these lessons at their financial brand with their community?
Well, let's come down to the idea of how social media has continued to transform over the years. And if we look back at the social media narrative, we could say that social media started to increase in adoption, early adopters, I guess, maybe 2007, 2008, 2009, really reached more of a mass adoption. We'll call it just like early Facebook, 2012 time period, Instagram, then we TikTok. But when it comes to community financial brand leaders, whether you're a leader, a lender, an advisor, even leveraging LinkedIn to make and establish and expand local connections,
Mhm.
I see as one of the true exponential growth opportunities for a financial brand leader to commit to.
Yeah.
Um, they even have an advantage that I don't have, which is the fact that they can form these relationships in the physical world and then further nurture and expand those relationships in the digital world, that being of LinkedIn.
So let's talk about LinkedIn. What are some different strategies to leverage these relationships on LinkedIn? And I know you have been in LinkedIn for a week. Conversations, your DMs are going crazy. What are some of the different strategies to really connect with those in your community
I'd
or
say,
their community?
well, I'd say, yeah, definitely. I've been living in LinkedIn for over a week for that matter. And a lot of this, even I would say for years, but if we're tying it to the book launch, about a week before book launch, I started going through my connections, people that I felt like I had really good relationships with, really good relationships that had been formed over a period of time. And I just asked them a very simple question. Um, got a new book coming out. Would you like to take an early sneak peek of it?
Mhm.
And that's, I would say, let's not think about this as lessons. Let's think about this as more of mindsets.
Mm,
So I offered something to them, early
yeah.
access, a sneak peek before anyone else could get it. And if they said no, they said no, no hard feelings. And to be honest with you, no one said no.
Right.
Um, of course, I want an early sneak peek. I mean, the response was very positive. So I gave them something of value, something that no one else could get access to ahead of time. So there was a bit of like, oh, exclusivity.
Exclusivity.
Uh
Yeah.
huh. And a lot of this comes like this is ancient quote unquote thinking. I mean, coming back from the ideas of how to win friends and influence people, even for that matter, or more modern day from Joe Polish, what's in it for them.
Yeah.
So I'm giving before I'm asking for anything. And if we build and develop those mindsets, like Joe Polish says, life gives to the giver. Or one of the things that I wrote about in banking on digital growth, you got to help first, you got to sell second. More specifically,
Yeah.
people are looking for two things. People are looking for help, and hope has to come before people are willing to receive help. And so Banking on Change is a book of hope. So I asked them, got a book coming out next week. Would you like early access? Take a sneak peek. And all in all, and I kind of tracked and logged some of this, I reached out to well over 300 people
Wow.
through this. And that was a mix of primarily LinkedIn direct messages. Second to that was text messages on my phone,
Mhm.
just going through my list. And then the third was people I wasn't connected to on LinkedIn, but I wasn't connected to them on my phone with their text. So just sent them an email. So helping before asking for anything. So they got access to this
Yeah. Of
and they were excited.
course.
And it made them feel special because I have to admit, this wasn't my idea.
Yeah.
I've had this same experience being on the receiving end, particularly working with other authors. Other authors are like, I'm writing a new book. Would you like to get
Yeah.
early access to take a look? Well, of course I would. I love to read and I want to see what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah. I remember actually when you were launching banking on digital growth, it was like maybe a month before I came back for tour number two, and you had already given me a copy. For whatever reason, I guess you had a copy of the book already printed a little bit early
Mhm.
because you sent me a copy of the book. And I read it before I even came back. And you sent me an email before I started. And you said, "Hey, Audrey, would you mind leaving a review? I hope you enjoyed the book. Would you leave a review?" And I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, of course I will. You reached out to me. We have a good relationship. Like, absolutely, I'll leave you a review for this." And, I think many times we're overlooking that giving part, and we see, and especially in the different website secret shopping studies that we do,
Yeah.
there is this missing piece, this ratings and reviews piece that users are always asking for and looking for. Gosh, I wish they had some reviews here. I wish I knew what other people, what products they liked or what was the most popular. And I think sometimes, financial brand leaders are left scratching their heads like, well, how do we get these? I mean,
Yes.
well, look, odds are people aren't just going to show up and leave a review for you.
No. But
It's not top of mind.
and I think that's the second part of this strategy is you have to give far before you're going to ask for anything. And it was interesting what the responses that I received, particularly through direct messages, were, oh my goodness, like I've been listening to the podcast for 3 years. It's been so helpful. I appreciate the articles that you and Audrey are writing. So it's like these were people who I had no idea were even paying attention to begin with in the first
Yeah.
place. And
Well, yeah.
oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, that's one of the we talk about in so especially on social media. how many people are consuming your content that are not leaving a comment, that are not liking it, that you're not, they're kind of what do you call a silent? Do you have a name
Well,
for them? They're
it's the 99-1 rule. And so 90% of people lurk and consume.
lurkers. That's it.
They lurk and consume content. And there's not scientific evidence to it. It's more of just an
Sure.
anecdotal perspective. But we'll just say 90% of people consume, 9% of people connect, engage, like, comment, share,
Yep.
but really only 1% are actually going out and actively creating and publishing, posting something new.
Mhm. Yep.
And we can't forget that. I think, if you're a financial brand leader thinking, "Ah, why would I want to waste my time when no one is commenting, when no one is clicking, when no one is liking?" Well, this is a true testament of all of the deposits that we've
Yes.
made over time into the trust fund that sits between these other leaders' ears. They have
Yep.
been paying attention. They have been watching. They have been listening. They have been reading. They just never engage for whatever reason. And that's okay.
Well, we all do it. I mean, think about how many posts you scroll by every day that you don't leave a like or a comment. It's not that you didn't see it,
That's so
you
true.
know?
That's so true.
Yeah.
And so there's that mindset, we'll call this the second mindset. This is about, really, at the end of the day, it's just human connection. Um, and if you think about when you are in the physical world, um, not everyone you meet, you're going to have this long, in depth conversation with. It might just be the pleasantries, but there was something that you said to that person, or something that they said to you, even for that matter, that connected, it resonated, and you remember that dialogue, you remember that discussion, and you remember that person. But more so, I mean, I forgot, it was Roosevelt's wife. I think, Eleanor Roosevelt. People aren't going to remember what you did for them, but they're going to remember how it
In the field.
made them feel.
Yep.
This is that
Yeah.
practice applied in the context of a digital LinkedIn environment.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've talked about, this is a major fear and something that I know and I think you've had to overcome it. I am working on it. But it's not being afraid to ask. I think naturally there's a fear of rejection.
Yes.
Um, oh, they're not going to want to, they didn't like it and this goes back to the 4 agreements. And I love this one. Don't take things personally. If you ask and someone doesn't do it, look, you can't take it personally. We all have things going on, and put yourself in their shoes. I, James Robert, I have been asked, I'll admit, I have been asked for, to leave a review, to leave a rating many times from, workshops or books or things that I've done, and I haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I didn't like it or anything. I didn't get value out of it. It's just like slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. And when you look at the strategy here, and it was a strategy, it was thought out. It was, ask people first, you want a sneak peek.
Hmm.
And then there's a binary response. It's going to be a yes or going to be a no. Well, if it's a yes, we give them an early copy PDF of the book. No one said no. So then the follow up to that is, fantastic. Here's a copy of the book. We ask another question. Would you be open to helping launch this book next Tuesday? Now, that's where not everyone responded. I want to say, and I don't have the data in front of me because I know we're still compiling it, but maybe around 20% of people said they'd be open to helping launch the book. And there's a little bit more context to the question of, would you be open to helping launch the book by either making a post or leaving a comment or leaving an early review on Amazon, since you're reviewing the book, since you get early access to it?
Hmm.
Maybe 20% responded to that. The other 80%, no response. But back to your point, Audrey, no hard feelings
Right.
at all. not personal. I mean, for all I know, they could have gotten busy and then they had more DMs come in and then it just got, and because I've been there, I'm there right now. Like
Absolutely.
I literally have hundreds of direct messages from the book launch that I'm still working through. And it is my promise, it's my commitment to myself, but to everyone else, I will be back in touch because that's how much I care about the human relationship here. It's like
Yeah.
And so that's the second piece of this. There's another mindset though, I think, that we have to consider. This is the result of playing a very, very, very long game.
Yep.
If I think about my own social media activities over the years, it started really in Twitter, but then migrated away from Twitter and really just went all in on LinkedIn. See, I don't exist on Instagram. I don't exist on TikTok yet. And I say yet because who knows what the future might hold. There might be a time when I am in other social media channels. But for the people that I care about creating the greatest value for, they're in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so this is where my philosophy of play the game in decades really comes into play because once again, I hear leaders are like, well, you know, you've got tens of thousands of followers. I mean, I think we're right at 10,000. We're pushing
Yeah.
10,000 at this point. It's not massive. That's not macro. And here's the thing: if you're focused, and let's just say you have 1,000 people that you're connected with on LinkedIn. Let's say you have 500 people that you're connected on LinkedIn, but every single one of those people that you're connected with on LinkedIn or in your local community, my goodness, the way that you could leverage and create value for them by sharing, by liking, by commenting, by referring, connect. I mean, once again, I mean, so I make so many introductions behind the scenes to help people connect because it's just simply the right thing to do.
Yeah.
All of this boils down to just being a good human being. Um, but once again, having this book achieve #1 bestseller on Amazon is not from me. It's the result of other good people helping.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
people want to help. Really, I believe that. I believe there's this intrinsic human aspect of people want to help other people.
Yeah, and it was really really cool to see, this LinkedIn community really rally around the book and rally around kind of the main ideas
Mhm.
of the book, the philosophy behind it. And I think, when you have something like that, a piece like that that really is just so much bigger than yourself. It really is, this level of growth. And you shared so many stories and anecdotes and examples of other people. Yes, you did share a lot of your own personal growth story, but you also highlighted, dozens of others on their growth journey. And I think that, it really lends itself for people wanting to share it. People want to share this because they know the impact that a lot of these ideas have and they want others to see
Yeah.
it. So I think, having that, and this is where it's a little bit different than banking on change. I'm sorry, banking on digital growth. This idea around this, banking on change, and so I think having something that the community can really rally around.
Mm.
I mean, we've seen what it can do.
You, I want to just come back to this word that you've surfaced a few times: community. Um, if you think that one who is watching or listening is a community financial brand leader, community is not just a physical experience anymore. It's not just borders, boundaries, zip codes, states. nations. Community transcends the physical world. Community comes down to people sharing a common cause. They have to care for growth. And I'm
Mhm.
pulling directly from Banking on Change here. CARE is the acronym. You have to commit to a common cause that's bigger than the present moment. And then the A is you have to adapt. You have to adapt your behavior. You have to adapt your belief. And this idea of making human connection in a digital world and thinking that it's going to be quote unquote easy, I think is a big, big myth. There's an investment of time that
Mhm.
goes into this, just like any other human relationship. And for me
So true.
personally, that creates a lot of conflict on the home front. You know about this.
I know. I mean, you've got to really nurture these relationships and show up often, give. It's an investment, 100%.
Well, I bring up the conflict on the home front because I understand if you're watching or listening and you're a financial brand leader thinking that I don't have time for this, this is a waste of time. I get it because that's how my wife is. Like, you've heard Delina, like, you
Oh,
just,
yeah.
and I'm going to keep this clean
Also-
because she has some very choice words, but you're just messing around on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And,
She's like, he's been on LinkedIn for an hour. Get him off.
and if you, and once again, this is a matter of, this is banking on change being practically applied in this
Mhm.
conversation. It's a matter of perspective. And it's not that her perspective is right or wrong. It's not that my perspective is right or wrong. It's just perspective is the sum of context and framing. And there are 4 steps that lead to human transformation. And if you, and I really, really do see such a tremendous opportunity for community financial brand leaders, lenders, and advisors to unlock and to capture and to amplify their expertise through human centric content in a digital world using channels, communication channels like LinkedIn. It does create an exponential growth moment. But it comes back to this idea of mindset. You have to be willing to see things from a different perspective. When you see different, you're going to think different. When you think different, doesn't mean you're going to act different. You have to actually bridge that gap between thought and action with feeling and emotion. And that's where I think there's this idea of community comes back into play.
Yeah.
Because while a lot of people that have helped launch the book, I have known for 5, 10 plus years, I might see them in real life maybe once a year,
Yeah.
maybe,
If that.
if that. But there's, for me, there's definitely a positive feeling or emotion of connection based upon what they have shared, what we've connected around. And once again, if we take this from the macro kind of the industry level, these same mindsets and principles and philosophies can be applied at a local level that I really believe has the potential to be even that much more powerful because you have the physical human connection in addition to what's going on in the digital space here as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. As we start to wrap up, then, thinking about the idea of building and cultivating relationships in the digital world, something that we've seen, a little bit of a challenge for some financial brands and then the leaders that we're working with. We have seen some that are really, just really doing a great job. Marshall Moore, he over at On Tap. He's doing such a fantastic job on LinkedIn. You guys give Marshall a follow if you don't already. What is a practical, next step, a piece of advice, recommendation moving forward for someone, a leader who's like, okay, I know I need to, cultivate some relationships on LinkedIn. I need to put myself out there, but I don't really know where to start, or I don't really have anything worth sharing, or I only have a few hundred followers.
Well, once again, I
What
mean,
do I do?
you've got a few hundred followers. If they're at the local level, that's you're way better off. And so I think practically speaking, there are two methodologies that I teach. One is 3-2-1 contact. And these are micro habits that take a commitment of no more than 15 minutes a day. And literally, like if you set your calendar reminder and you create a 15-minute slot, it just says 3-2-1 contact. It's a matter of going into LinkedIn, looking within your local community because you can sort down connections to the local community level, and you make 3 connections every single day. And this is also where I think niche comes into play. Like if you're a niche lender or you're a niche
Mhm.
advisor, that will help expand beyond the local community. But we're just going to use the local community as an example. So go into the local community, look for 3 people in your local community that you can connect with, and personalize the message. Always good connecting with other good people in Houston, Texas. That's it. And I do something very similar. Always good connecting with financial brand leaders in Texas. Are always good connecting with other financial brand leaders in California. And the reason I'm just ever so slightly personalizing that message to them.
Yeah.
The response rate and the acceptance rate goes up. The second, once you make those 3 connections every day, just go through your feed, comment, not like, comment on 2 other posts, and particularly if these are people, once again, in your local community. And that's where
Hmm.
building a local LinkedIn network as a community financial brand leader has the potential to be very influential going forward in the age of AI, where I believe human connection will become that much more critical. And then finally, one post. Just make one post a day, and it doesn't have to necessarily be about banking or a banking product. And I think, Audrey, you're a fantastic example of your thinking over the years of how you're like, well, what do I say? I'm like, just be
Yeah.
yourself. Just be
Yeah.
yourself.
And sometimes it's as easy as just sharing. Like start off by sharing things that you're reading, interesting, an interesting article or video or something that you listen to, and just share it. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out, thought out. Like at this point, you're just trying to build a habit and get a little bit more comfortable. So you don't have to, spill spill all these deep thoughts and insights. Just share what you're listening or share what you're learning.
And don't worry about all of the tricks and the tips and trying to hack the algorithm. You know,
It does.
I see Chad Willardson um come in as a fiduciary posting every single day. Um, I see Pete Caputa, CEO over at DataBox, posting every single day. And a lot of what Pete posts is just what's been going well. And that's a banking
Yeah.
on change model right there. But where they've been winning at DataBox, what Pete's excited about, what he's learned, what he's looking forward to. And so if you go through the what's going well model and the what's going well framework, what's been going well framework, that could be a very helpful framework of what
Yep.
to post, a win, what you're excited about, what you've learned, and what you're looking forward to. And you're just continuously cycling through.
Yep.
I think, if anything, make a commitment to do this just for 7 days.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I take weekends off. Like I typically do not post on the weekend. I don't schedule posts over the weekend because I that's my those are my rest days, those are my recover
Right.
days. And I'm very
And
intentional
also
with
like
this.
I would say like don't set yourself up with like these expectations.
Mm,
Um, you know, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter if anyone likes it, comments it, or sees it.
so
Just get
true.
it out there. Get it
Exactly.
out there. Don't worry about it. Like you said, it's a long game. I mean, I don't think I got any likes or comments on any of my first posts. I mean, they they probably weren't great anyways, but and then slowly it was like, oh, now I'm getting 4 or 5. Oh, now I'm getting 20 or 30. I think, but you just have to keep showing up and keep doing it.
Yes, and that's where playing the long games comes into play, but accountability. And this is my offer. Connect with me, connect with Audrey. Send us a direct message that you listen to this podcast right here. And we'll make sure that we'll hold you accountable for those first 7 days. Because we're gonna see you. We're gonna see your content. We're gonna like it. We're gonna comment on it. So just know that you've got 2 people already there, ready, willing to support you on your own journey
There
of
you go.
exponential growth.
2 likes, 2 comments.
That's it.
Awesome. Anything else, James Robert, before we wrap up?
No.
That's a great tool. 3, 2, 1. I've seen a lot of people in our community use this often and have really good feedback. I mean, I've used it. I still try to follow it somewhat.
And that's the point. It's a framework to just build the very simple habit. And if you're a leader, you can encourage your team to do the same, and you will be leading by example. I believe that social leaders, digital leaders who are in social media, have the potential to create far more value going forward in the age of AI than those who do not exist or who are not active on social media. And that's the subject of the next book, which is a whole conversation for another day. But that's what I'm really looking forward to going forward into the future myself.
Absolutely. If you have not had a chance to check out Banking on Change, James Robert, where should someone go next?
www.bankingonchange.com. Multiple places you can buy the book there, but also there are a couple of bonus resources. There is the 3-day Banking on Change challenge, where I will personally guide you through the tools that I have seen others that I've seen create the greatest value for others. And there's also the Banking on Change book club guide that you can download to facilitate a book club within your organization.
Yes, absolutely. Take advantage of these resources on there. They are fantastic.
Yes, they are. Thank you so much, Audrey. This has been a lot of fun today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Banking on Digital Growth podcast.
Alrighty, ma'am.
All right, sir.